Hello, back for more bookshelf tour. Now we are into my Aline Miles collection, and this isn't my singer Aline Miles. This is the New York poet Aline Miles, and my history with her is that I was in San Francisco and I visited the most holy of holies, the City Lights bookstore, and actually founded by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the great one of the big beat poets. And I was like, I was in there and it was very crowded, but I was like, okay, I wanted to get some books. I wanted to get something small that I could kind of hold in my hand. And I found this, which it just spoke to me. I had no idea who Aline Miles was at the time. I had nothing. I just like not me. It's like that to me said something, and maybe that face on the back, it's like not me. That really spoke to me, so I picked this up and I read this on the subway system in San Francisco, and I have a lot of memories of doing that. And Aline Miles has, at least at this point in her career, has a very kind of long, narrow uh, poetry style of how she stacked her words, in a very kind of I would say like hushed tone. I think intimate, personal, personal tone. There's one here, not me, which is sort of like there's something about like I'm not a Kennedy. It's like no, and kind of the royalty, and it's just like it. She really spoke to me, and I of course then immediately went on a big thing of getting a lot of her other poetry books. School of Fish, Maxfield Parrish, Early and New Poems, which might actually have some of Not Me in it. There's Skies, and there's Chelsea Girls, which I believe is more of like a collection of like kind of short stories and stuff like that. Um, and then there's a Cool for You, a novel, which I really enjoyed. Which she's like the main character is works at a mental institution. There's Eileen Miles at that point. I've even been to a reading by Eileen Miles. She came to Vancouver, and I went and saw her. I was like kind of the lone guy in this kind of very hip lesbian scene, but just yeah, and she was extremely cool person. Here's some importance of being Iceland, travels in essays and art, which I haven't read. I don't know. I probably would have to get a little bit more boned up on my art. Um, there's there's Sorry Tree by Lee Miles, which I haven't read yet. And oh, even more shameful is yet another novel, Inferno, a poet's novel, which it's got like the burned lip on the photograph, I guess. But I don't know if you can tell, but it has been plastic wrapped, and I've yet to actually take it out of its plastic wrap, which, as someone who is not a collector, is got to be the most shameful thing to have on my bookshelf. And at some point, I always say I should. My as you might know, people have TBRs, and I scorn TBRs. Except the reason I don't have a TBR is because my TBR is endless and unmanageable, and so I never actually would commit it to writing or anything like that. I've got a thing of Ruskin, the great English critic, Sesame and the Lilies, Two Paths, King of the Golden River. I know him from kind of talking about not romanticism, about the idea between Ruskin's lecture Sesame, which was delivered to help the founding of a public library, is to encourage the right use of books. So I thought he's got a difficult writing style, though. So I read some of it and bounced off. I need to read some more. Victorians are always worth listening to. Here, we'll do some of the books at the front here, and then I will call it a day because work. I've got Kim Stanley Robinson, who I've really enjoyed. Enjoyed a novella of his with the Bigfoot. He's an American science fiction author, very much into environmentalist stuff. Really known for his Mars trilogy, which I've picked up Red Mars, and I think I even have this and maybe another one on ebook that I've been slowly picking up to read. But they are big chunker novels, and it's always, finding the right time to embark upon something like that. And this is a more recent one of his, 2312. Yet again, I think more in the in more yet again in the kind of ecological idea, and really kind of complex, not simplistic nature's good, man, but really kind of digging into the science of the stuff, and him being, as some of the great science fiction writers are, they can tell a story and also really weave in amazing um, explanations, delvings into the science of stuff at the same time. Which, as someone who's a bit science illiterate, I find if you can put that into a story, I can take it in a way that I don't usually take in as a non-science fiction, as a non-science reader, even though I love my science fiction. This is Richard Russo, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I decided I'd just pick up something by him and give it a try. Haven't tried it yet. Yeah, yeah. So I should try that American author. I think this is probably the only Michael Ondaatje I have a physical copy of still, which is The English Patient, made into the film with Ralph Fiennes and Juliette Binoche and others. Kristen Stewart, Kristen Scott Thomas, not Kristen Stewart. She was probably amoeba at that point. Um, I really loved Ondaatje's style, kind of his kind of poetic, slightly kind of just off to the center style for a long time there. He is someone who started off his life as a poet, the Cinnamon Girl. Might have that somewhere else in other poems I might have, but I don't know. I may have crossed a line there where I went from finding his style bewitching to finding his style uh, just not overblown, but poetic for the sake of being poetic. In a kind of, are you just trying to be pretentious and snow me? Like I'd read lines of his and they would evoke stuff, but then I read lines of his and say this doesn't mean anything. And maybe that's just me not being a careful reader, or just me maybe just falling out of the wavelength that Michael Ondaatje was on. Uh, yeah, yeah. So let's stop there. I've kept this because The English Patient was and is, I guess, my favorite book of his. Had There's a whole thing here of Herodotus, the English Patient of the title, having a copy of Herodotus, the father of history, the father of lies, and I think the book was a pomacet, because all pseudo poetic hack writers always have pomacets in their books, and it's such a it's a cliche of a metaphor for written upon and written upon. It's like, oh, writers just love, or it's a writer who's in love with themselves, sort of that idea. See, this is maybe why I'm off his wavelength. I should actually at some point just sort of sit down with the book and actually go back to the source material and see how I actually do react to it again. So much reading to do, so little time. All right, and then we'll continue on into things. I might actually make a little diversion into Mantel land, because for some reason in all my M's, my Mantel is over here. I'll maybe just bring it over here just for the sake of thoroughly getting done with those M's, and then we can be on to what looks like R's. LMNOP. Well, yeah, my bookshelf isn't in any particular order, but yeah, I think, note to self, do Mantel next. And if I didn't, well, she's over there. She'll come up eventually.